Hey everybody, my name is Nick. I'm a director and editor living in Los Angeles, and today I want to talk about what film you should watch for Ghost Month. If you don't know, Ghost Month is part of the lunar calendar. It's typically around August, September, and this year it's about to come to an end. So I wanted to watch a film that would be appropriate for Ghost Month. And I think the best movie to watch during Ghost Month is a Chinese ghost story. There have been many versions of this made, but we're talking about the original from 1987. This film stars Leslie Cheung and Joey Wong, and it was made sort of in the golden era of Hong Kong films. If you asked me kind of what genre this movie would be in, I feel like the only answer is it's a Hong Kong movie from the late 80s, early 90s, because it's such a wild blending of genres and ideas, and it's the kind of thing that when it happened well in these Hong Kong movies was just fantastic to watch. And this film is a horror film, it's a kung fu film, it's a very funny comedy, and it also has some elements of romance drama. It has some sexy stuff in it, leaning into the Hong Kong kind of sex comedy genre. And if you look at the Wikipedia or whatever, it's often classified as a horror film, which is interesting because I really do think the strongest genre of this movie is comedy. But I think it's classified as a horror film because that's the thing about it that's the most unique. It's got some really fun, wild stop motion monsters. It's got a giant tongue that shoots out. Yes, it has a giant tongue that shoots out of one of the monsters. That's like a really big set piece in this film, is this flying tongue that wraps people up. In a lot of ways, this movie has elements that are very similar to Evil Dead. I think this is a movie that should be more popular with American film bros. You know, the kind of guy that you know that likes to watch The Thing or The Fly or Evil Dead and talks about how, you know, oh, they don't make them like they used to and we got to do practical effects and CGI is ruining movies. Nostalgia obsessed, horror loving person, I think, would really get a lot out of this movie. And I think if they haven't delved into Hong Kong cinema yet, if you haven't delved into Hong Kong cinema yet, I think this would be the perfect movie for you if you like movies like that. On my more self-aggrandizing days, I like to think that the mission of this YouTube channel is to expand the cultural palette of the American film bro. So if more people watch this channel, maybe that can happen. What's the plot of a Chinese ghost story? We have a debt collector who runs out of money and he spends the night in a haunted temple in this new town that he's in. He meets in this temple a beautiful woman who's a ghost, unbeknownst to him. This ghost has been luring men into sleeping with her at the behest of an evil tree spirit. The debt collector has such a pure heart and he's such a nice guy that he doesn't give in to the sexual advances of the ghost. Instead, he actually is so nice that the ghost falls in love with him. And he has a real connection with the ghost too. So he survives the night. And then when he figures out that the woman he's in love with is a ghost and that she's enslaved by this evil tree spirit, he goes on a mission with a Taoist priest to try to save her. What is the best thing about this movie? Why is this movie so good? I think it's interesting to think about how fun and unique and cool this movie feels. And if you look up the filmography of the director, there's not a whole lot of other stuff there. There's some pretty bad movies with Steven Seagal. There's like sequels to Chinese Ghost Story, but it's not like he's made other things that really stand out. I would say, in my opinion, I don't know, maybe other people can correct me if they're, what's this guy's, I don't even know this guy's name. Tony Ching Siu-tung heads can correct me in the comments, but I mean, I think this is really the peak of his work. There is often an outsized importance placed on the director of a film. If you look at a film, you think like the reason it's good is because of the director. I think that that's kind of a narrative in film discourse. But I think that that is, in many cases, an outsized importance put on a singular person. Whereas I think a lot of the times, the greatness of particular movies that we love so much, especially these like film bro movies that I was talking about, like The Thing, like these practical effects things, they are the product of film movements and films that are being made at the time in a certain place. If you look at this film, A Chinese Ghost Story, it's very apparent that its unique style, its sensibilities, its daring, weird choices, like the fact that it decides to put a flying weird tongue in it, and there's so much comedy mixed in with, you know, very serious horror stuff. That is the product of Hong Kong movies at the time. It will level up your understanding of film to understand film in terms of film movements. This film was made in a filmmaking climate. The sensibilities of the audience, the producers, what was in the cultural climate at the time, all of that contributed to the choices and what is happening in this movie. What audiences and producers expect of a film is what ends up getting made. And that's what's able to be created. And so I think it's interesting to think that probably a good amount of what is in a movie, even though it was created by a person and they need to have talent, they need to have skill to be able to do it, it doesn't exist in another space and time. This movie, A Chinese Ghost Story, has been remade over and over again, and it's never as good as this one because those films didn't exist in the specific cultural context that this film existed in, which is what makes this movie so good. And no offense to the director, but I think take that same director, have him try to make this same movie today, it's going to be a lot different, and it's not going to be as good because Hong Kong movies of the time were just so fun and unique and wild and irreverent. So personally, while I'm recommending A Chinese Ghost Story for you to go watch, I'm also recommending you to check out this Hong Kong period of filmmaking if you haven't seen it yet, because there's so many fun, interesting things that you can get from there. I think we're living in a semi-flat filmmaking environment. I think that's why these kinds of nostalgia movies are so valuable to people and why they resonate so much. And I think it's why, if you like that kind of filmmaking in America, you know, films from the 80s, John Carpenter movies, whatever, then you're gonna really like and value A Chinese Ghost Story. So if you haven't seen it, Ghost Month ends on September 21st. Check it out before then. Watch a fun, goofy horror movie. It's not too scary. You know, I don't know if you should watch it with the kids because it's a little sexual, but watch it, you know, you're not gonna get scared. It's gonna be fun. You're gonna have a good time. I would say it's mostly a comedy. So take a look at that, and if you have any movies that you'd like me to review, let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you guys next time.